Hello, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Today we will read two stories about flying. It is there in your book. First flight. Check out your book, First Flight. And there we will read two stories about flying. Ready, all of you? Are you ready or not?
Yes, ma'am. Ready.
Okay. So let's start. Today we are going to read his first flight, written by Lamb O. Flatty, is an account of a young bird that is afraid to fly for the first time. This is the story of a young bird, small bird, and which is afraid to fly for the first time. He believes that his wings would not support him despite his younger siblings flying fearlessly with much shorter wings. See, the brother and sisters of Siddharth Bharti. Who is this? Siddharth. Siddharth is there in your class or not? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Siddharth is there in the class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he believes that his wings would not support him despite his younger siblings. उसके भाई बहन जो थे वो उड़ते थे, अपना खाना पीना खुद से ही लाते थे, और because they knew how to fly. लेकिन इसके पास इतना करेज ही नहीं था कि ये उड़ने की सोचे. इसे लगता था कि अगर मैं उड़ूंगा and suppose my wings would not support me, then I would fall down. Despite his younger siblings flying fearlessly with much shorter wings, he could not gather the courage to do the same. He was punished to stay hungry by his mother or his parents, and his sister and brothers were also not helping him. He was punished if he did not try. If he did not try, thus it was his mother that compelled him to fly by using food as a trap. The lesson reflects how one hesitates to take the first step, and fear is all in the mind. See, whenever we wish to do something for the first time, we have many things in our mind. Whether we are successful in it, whether we would be able to do it or not, what people think about me, everything is there in our mind. But till the time you will take your first step, nothing can happen. कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ चलना तो होगा ना, पहला कदम तो उठाना ही पड़ेगा. If you are simply sitting and thinking that your work will be completed by itself, it is impossible. वो कभी नहीं होता. तुमने वो संस्कृत वाला श्लोक पढ़ा है? उद्यमे हि सिद्ध्यन्ति कार्याणि न हि मनोरथै न हि सुप्तस्य सिंहस्य प्रविशति मुखे मृगा. पढ़ा है कि नहीं पढ़ा है कभी? ये 10 में नहीं था, इसलिए ये मत सोचो कि मैम हम लोग तो हिंदी वाले हैं, 10 संस्कृत कहाँ से पढ़ेंगे. ये 6-7 में ही कभी हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था. तो एक शेर जैसा वायलेंट, फियर्स इन इट्स एक्टिविटी एनिमल को भी he has to work to get his food. अगर वो सोया रहेगा और सोचेगा कि मेरे मुख में अपने आप हिरन आके घुस जाए, तो ऐसा नहीं होता. सो व्हेनेवर वी आर, एवरीबडी, चाहे वो जानवर हो, पंछी हो या मनुष्य हो, वी हैव टू टेक आवर फर्स्ट स्टेप towards our goal, towards our aim. So this is the story of the bird. We will see the young seagull. I told you the outline of the story. Now we will see the text. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. Ledge means a narrow horizontal shelf projecting from a wall, but here it is used as a cliff. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. He also wanted to take his first flight, but he didn't have courage to do so. So write the word meaning. Seagull means a bird that lives near the sea and has short legs, long wings, and white and gray feathers. A bird that lives near the sea and has short legs, long wings, and white and gray feathers. Ledge, a narrow horizontal shelf projecting from a wall, or here a cliff. Brink, the extreme edge of land before a steep slope or a body of or water. Expanse, a wide continuous area of something. See, the story is about a young seagull, you are aware of that, who is at that stage of life where he has to learn to fly. You might have seen birds और उनके बच्चों, बेबीज को भी देखा होगा. कभी देखा है चिड़ियों को और उनके बच्चों को घोंसले में?
यस मैम.
देखा है ना? तो क्या होता है कि शुरू में माँ जो होती है वो बच्चों के मुंह में दाना डालते रहती है, but when the time comes, as they recover, as they develop their wings, feathers, तो उसे उड़ने को सिखाती है. लेकिन जो बच्चे डरते हैं, उसके यंग वंस, या नहीं उड़ना चाहते, उन्हें वो क्या करती है कि नेस्ट से ढकेल देती है. क्योंकि अगर वो गिरेगा, जब उसे कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा, तो ही वुड डू समथिंग टू सेव हिमसेल्फ. क्योंकि सभी को अपने अपने जीवन तो बहुत प्यारा होता है, और वही बचाने के क्रम में वो अपने विंग्स का यूज कर लेगा, तो ही वुड लर्न हाउ टू फ्लाई. इन द सेम वे सारे लोग, unlike his younger brothers and sisters, he is too afraid to fly. When all of them went for flying for the first time near the edge of the sea, all of them except him succeeded. He couldn't trust his wings. He got terrified by the vast sea and got convinced that he could never fly. वो भी गया था अपने भाई बहनों के साथ, थोड़ा सा इधर उधर देखा, बट उसे बहुत जल्द उसके भाई बहन सब उड़ने लगे, लेकिन इसे डर लगने लगा कि अगर मैं नहीं उड़ा या मेरे पंख नहीं फैले हवा में, तो मैं शायद नहीं उड़ पाऊंगा और गिर के मर जाऊंगा. सारे सफल भी हो गए, लेकिन इसको खाली अपने सामने बहुत बड़ा समुद्र, वास्ट सी नजर आता था. And he got convinced that he could never fly. As a result, he was ashamed and disheartened, and thus went inside the ledge where usually he slept. उसके बाद थोड़ा सा शर्माया भी उसको शर्म भी आई क्योंकि सारे उसके छोटे भाई बहन उड़ रहे थे और ये अभी भी अपनी जगह में बैठा हुआ था। तो फिर वो अंदर गया लेज में और वहीं पे जहां वो सोता था हर रात को वहीं सो गया। Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings, and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to take that plunge which appeared to him so desperate. His father and mother had come around calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. देखो, word meanings लिखते जाओ pencil. If you have pencil in your hand, write these words, word meanings in book itself, and afterwards you will write it in your fair notebook of English. Flapped, move, wings up and down when flying or preparing to fly. Muster means gather. उसमें साहस वो जुटा ही नहीं पा रहा था कि मैं उड़ूं. Plunge, jump or dive. Shrilly, with a high pitched and piercing voice or sound. चिल्ला के या जोर से बोलना. Upbraiding, scold. देखो, his younger siblings managed to take their first flight despite their wings being shorter than his. वो छोटे थे तो उनके विंग्स भी इससे छोटे होंगे. But he could not summon the courage, though he tried so desperately. He was scolded by his parents for not trying again, but he was so afraid that he could not even move. उसने अपने मूवमेंट की भी शक्ति कोशिश नहीं की. और तुम जानते होगे बच्चों कि इफ यू ट्राई यू विल नेवर फेल. कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. हमें कोशिश तो करनी ही चाहिए. होना ना होना तो बाद की बात है, बट इसके डर से इफ यू आर नॉट टेकिंग एनी स्टेप देन इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम फॉर यू. कहाँ थे हम लोग? That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sisters, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had, in fact, seen his older brother catch his fish, herring, and devour it. Devour means eat quickly. Standing on a rock while his parents circled around, raising a proud cackle, and all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. देखो, इसके पेरेंट्स जो थे वो भी इसका, जब ये लोग बिग प्लेट्यू पे जाने का सोचा इन लोगों ने, तो रास्ते भर इसका मजाक उड़ाते रहे लोग, क्योंकि ये उड़ ही नहीं पा रहा था. चलो वर्ड मीनिंग्स लिख लो. Herring is a type of fish, sea fish, a soft, fine sea fish. They were eat quickly, cackle, laugh in a loud or harsh way. Cowardice, lack of bravery. Now he had been alone for a day. After he tried because his parents were busy focusing on his siblings. When he didn't listen to his parents also decided not to talk to him. And even they आगे देखोगे कि they decided not to give him any food. और खाना एक ऐसी चीज है जो आदमी को मजबूर कर देता है कुछ भी करने को, काम धंधा जो भी है. तो और ऐसे भी बच्चों, नेसेसिटी इज द मदर ऑफ इन्वेंशन. सो जब चीज की जरूरत होती है तो उसे खोजने की कोशिश आदमी करने लगता है. दे हेल्प्ड हिज सिबलिंग्स. वो पेरेंट्स जो थे वो अपने दूसरे बच्चों को तैयारी कर रहे थे, सिखा रहे थे उड़ना, डाइविंग करना, अपने फूड के लिए कैसे डाइव करोगे पानी में, समुद्र में, ये सारी चीजें. the art of flying and diving for food. His older siblings even caught his first fish, which he proudly ate at a rock while his parents celebrated it. इसका एक भाई जो था, उसने पहला अपना फूड ले लिया था, पकड़ लिया था मछली, हेरिंग जो कह रहा है, और उसके पेरेंट्स जो हैं वो तो प्राउडली खा रहा था और उसके पेरेंट्स इस बात को सेलिब्रेट कर रहे थे. The morning his parents taunted him all the way for being a coward. पूरे टाइम इसको डरपोक कह के चिढ़ा रहे थे. उन लोगों को लग रहा था कि शायद इससे भी इसकी बुद्धि थोड़ी ठिकाने आ जाए और ये अपना हाथ पांव तो चलाए. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing. He closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again, she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. Now write the meaning of these sentences. Ascending the sky, the act of rising up through the air. Means चीजें सुबह हो गई थी दूसरे दिन की. Preening means to tidy and clean its feathers. Hump, a rounded raised mass of earth or land. Scrapped means discard. The sun had now risen and he was feeling the heat more than ever because he was empty stomach. खाली पेट तो आदमी को गर्मी ऐसे भी बहुत ज्यादा लगता है किसी को भी, और वो बेचारा पिछले 24 घंटों से कुछ भी नहीं खाया था. So he was feeling hungry since the night before. He stepped out of his ledge and pretended to sleep on one leg to gain the attention of his family. उसे लग रहा था एक ही पैर पे खड़े खड़े वो सो गया. उसे लग रहा था कि शायद उसके पेरेंट्स वहां से उसको देखेंगे और कुछ खाने को दे देंगे, लेकिन उसके पेरेंट्स भी गुस्सा थे and decided not to help him. उन्हें लगता था कि इसे खुद ही अपना खाना पीना या उड़ना सीखना चाहिए. Main thing is that. He stepped out of his ledge and pretended attention of his family. Still, no one noticed him. His siblings were sleeping. His father was cleaning his feathers with his beak, and his mother was standing on another plateau eating fish while she noticed him. The seagull got mad on seeing the fish because he was very hungry. He loved to tear away fish and scrap his beak now and then. उसे जब वो अपनी माँ के चोंच में मछली का टुकड़ा देखता है तो उसे लगता है कि काश वो मुझे मिल जाता, क्योंकि उसे भी बड़ा मजा आता था उस तरह मछली को चीर चीर के खाने में. गा गा गा, he cried begging her to bring him some food. वो अपनी भाषा में चिल्ला के बोलता है कि मेरे लिए भी कुछ खाना दो. गाँव खुला, she screamed back derisively. But he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted her wings motionless. The piece of fish in her beak, almost within reach of his beak, he waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she didn't come nearer. And then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. देखो कितनी अच्छी बात है. Derisively means in a manner expressing contempt or ridicule. Plaintively, sad. Uttered, make a sound with one's voice. Halted, stopped. He cried in hunger to his mom, while his mother screamed back angrily. But he kept crying, which soon turned into a joyful scream. At the sight of his mother flying towards him with a piece of fish, जब उसने अपनी माँ को चोंच में फिश का टुकड़ा लेके उड़ते हुए अपनी तरफ आते देखा, तो जब माँ होती है, माँ तो ऐसे भी जेनरस होती है बहुत ज्यादा, तो उसे लगा कि शायद ये मुझे ही देने के लिए आ रही है. लेकिन he got excited as she came nearer and thus leaned forward. आगे की ओर झुका ताकि वो उसके मुंह से वो फिश का टुकड़ा ले सके. Suddenly she stopped not too far from him. Out of excitement and hunger, he dived at the fish without realizing for the moment that he was afraid to fly. लेकिन उसकी माँ बहुत नजदीक आके भी चुप खड़ी रह गई. उसने उसको वो फिश का टुकड़ा नहीं दिया. वो भूख से पागल हो रहा था और उसके पास उसके हाथ में वो फिश देख के और भी ज्यादा उसको मुंह में फिश देख के उसे लग रहा था कि मुझे मिल जाए, लेकिन उसकी माँ नहीं दी. He was maddened by hunger and he decided to dive at the fish without realizing for a moment that he was afraid to fly. Are you able to understand what I am teaching? Hello? समझ में आ रहा है सबको?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is a small story. 2 stories are there in this unit. First one is this and another one is the black aeroplane. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. उसे तो पता नहीं कि कैसे उड़ना है. वो कभी ऊपर, कभी अंदर, कभी बाहर इस तरह से चल रहा था. Then a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only tested a minute. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. I will explain this paragraph after reading this. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Gaga, gaga, gokula, gokula. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his 2 brothers and his sister flying around him, curvetting the banking and shoring and living. Now write the word meanings first. Afterwards, I will explain you the paragraph. Monstrous, horrible. Seized, grab, पकड़ लेना किसी चीज को. Headlong, with the head foremost. Soaring, flying or rising high in the air. Swooped, especially of a bird, move rapidly. Downwards through the air. Curveting, perform a series of jumps on the hind legs. आगे के जो portion होते हैं उस पे कूदना. He got, अब सुनो explanation सुनो. He got so excited that he fell as soon as he tried. वो इतना excited था कि वो गिरने ही वाला था जैसे ही उसने छलांग लगाई थी. For a moment he was in shock and stood still out of terror. 1 मिनट को वो बिल्कुल शॉक हो गया और डर के मारे चुपचाप खड़ा रह गया जहां था वहीं पे. All this lasted only for a moment and soon his feathers opened as he flied. थोड़ी देर के लिए, एक मोमेंट के लिए ये था, थोड़ी देर में feathers जो थे वो खुल गए और वो उड़ने लगा. He could feel the wind against his breast feathers. उसे छातियों के पास हवा का बहाव दिख रहा था. stomach and his wings. Stomach के पास भी और wings के पास भी. He could feel himself cutting through the air. देखो, कई बार ऐसा होता है कि अगर मान लो तुम साइकिल चला रहे हो और तुम अपोजिट दिशा में अगर हवा बह रही है तो तुम्हारे लिए साइकिल संभालना मुश्किल होगा. लेकिन मान लो तुम जिस दिशा में जा रहे हो हवा भी उसी ओर की होती है तो आसानी से तुम हवा के साथ साथ चलते जाते हो. तो यहाँ भी वही था कि इसको उड़ना था और हवा जो थी वो दूसरे तरफ से आ रही थी तो इसे हवा से लड़ते हुए आगे बढ़ना था. He could feel himself cutting through the air. He was not afraid anymore. He was just a bit nervous. But then his mother accompanied him. The whole family screamed out of excitement, thus celebrating his victory over fear. पूरा का पूरा परिवार खुश था क्योंकि सबों को लग रहा था कि ये दौड़ना उड़ना सीख गया. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly. उसके बाद तो वो भूल ही गया था कि उसने कभी दौड़ना नहीं सीखा था. And commended himself to dive and soar and curve. Shrieking shrilly, he was near the sea now, flying straight over it. Facing straight out over the ocean, he saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. Cawed means utter a cow. Means वो एक बोलने की जो आवाज है, and in amusing way. Shrieking, making a high-pitched piercing cry or sound, चिल्लाना जोर से. Shrilly, loudly and forcefully. Ridges, a long narrow hilltop, mountain range or watershed. Cawed, utter a cow. Once he overcame his fear, he forgot that he was once afraid of it. He did all those things he once feared. उसने सारे काम कर लिए जिससे वो डरता था. He flied straight over the sea and could see the greenery and the mountains beneath him. He screamed out of joy as he enjoyed the victory. वो बहुत खुश हो रहा था और उसे लग रहा था कि ये उसकी जीत है और वो भी सबों के साथ अपने फैमिली मेंबर्स के साथ मस्ती कर रहा था. Now one paragraph is there and we have question answers also. So this we will discuss. This last paragraph will be discussed tomorrow. Tomorrow also you are having your online classes of English, है ना?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this and question answer we will discuss tomorrow. Till now you can ask if you have any queries. जहां तक मैंने पढ़ा दिया है उतने में अगर कोई एक्सप्रेशन कोई लाइन समझ में नहीं आई हो तो वो पूछ सकते हैं. Do you have any problem in? एक क्वेश्चन है मैं पूछती हूँ. चलो. Why was the young seagull afraid to fly? यशराज चला गया था या छोड़ दिया था? निकल छूट गया होगा. Why was the young seagull afraid to fly? Anyone? Lankrita, Angelina, Prerna,
Ma'am.
Anjali, Yash.
Ma'am,
हाँ बोलो.
ma'am, the young seagull was afraid to fly because he felt certain that his wings would never support him to fly.
यशराज 10C 2 पर एडमिट उसे ज्वाइन कर रहा है. ऐसा क्यों है भाई? देखो. The young seagull was afraid to fly because it was his first flight. He doubted that his wings would not be able to support him. We are well aware that journey to 1,000 miles begins with a single step. हजारों मील चलने की जो जर्नी है वो एक छोटी से स्टेप से शुरू तो होती ही है. And it is very difficult to take that first step. हमें उसी के लिए साहस की जरूरत पड़ती है। वो पहली जो स्टेप लेना होता है ना, वही लेने में हम अपने आप को असमर्थ महसूस करते हैं। We think that it is impossible or we cannot do, people will laugh upon me or something else. Many things are there in our mind while taking that first step. And whenever you are taking your first step, rest will be done accordingly. Next part of this question is, do you think all young birds are afraid to make their first flight, or are some birds more timid than others? And it is very difficult to take that first step. Thus, I think all birds must be hesitating before taking their first flight. Do you think a human baby also finds it a challenge to take its first step? Yes, it is really challenge to take the first step for humans also. क्योंकि जो बच्चे होते हैं, कई बार वो डर के मारे चलते ही नहीं है, कई बार बैठ जाते हैं. I think, yes, just like young birds, human babies also hesitate while taking their first step. So, you don't have anything to ask, isn't it? कुछ भी नहीं पूछना है. चलो ठीक है.